What's up guys, Ben here. I thought I'd make this video today because I'm disappointed. Disappointed in the way that F1 2014 only came out 2 weeks ago, yet I'm already looking forward and I'm talking about F1 2015 still in October. It's been no surprise to you guys that F1 2014 has been pretty disappointing on a large scale of things, especially for me online. For me, I honestly don't want to play online anymore. I'm thinking about just going to iRacing and not playing F1 2014 online anymore. I'm just sticking to career mode. But anyway, in this video, I'm going to sort of talk about the things that need to be implemented or things I'd recommend that would make F1 2015 a much better package compared to the same game we've been getting for the last 3 to 4 years. And I'm going to start off with some of the less obvious things. I'm gonna shy away from some of the obvious things like graphics or maybe the wheels not being, fully the same as what it was in real life or the liveries. I'm gonna leave that out because I know for sure that's gonna be fixed for next year's game. So why waste my breath on that? I'm gonna talk about some of the less obvious things that maybe some people haven't really thought of yet, and I think these little additions would make the game a lot more enjoyable. So I'll start off with online. For me, I get a lot of motivation for playing online if the racing is close and if the lag is fine. At the moment with F1 2014, that's been the same case since F1 2011. The lag, whatever, the synchronization has been pretty terrible. And F1 2014, it's been the worst it's ever been. Like, you can't see people in some races. The AI are even, out of sync if you're doing cooperative or something like that. That's just unacceptable. So we need to fix that up. Maybe dedicated servers, something like that. I'm not too sure. I'm not a games developer, so I'm not going to talk too much about that, but I'm sure you guys, especially the guys at Cody's, already know about the problems that you guys are dealing with anyway. But moving on, I'm going to be more talking about features and stuff that would make the online experience a whole lot better. And the first thing is like a ranking system. We need to bring back the online ranks, just like we had in, I believe it was 2012, where you earn ranking for, scoring better in races, finishing races. And also, if you don't finish well, you lose that ranking. But the change that I'd like to see as well in the ranking system is don't cap it to level 50. Make it like unlimited. Maybe like an iRacing sort of experience where you could make your level or rank or whatever go as high as you can. So you're not capped. So, it's fairly easy. It could take like 2 hours just to get to rank 50. But if you make the limit unlimited, really, you could really see who the best drivers are, or who spends the most time online, and you could really weed out some of the really bad drivers or aggressive drivers or whatever if you see that they have a bad rank, and maybe cap the lobby to that sort of rank. But anyway, that's ranking, maybe even safety rating or something like that to introduce to F1 2015 to sort of keep out the noobs. Because I know for a lot of you guys, especially on the consoles, there's lots of noobs out there who don't know what they're doing. They smash into you, they take you out, they get angry, they send you messages, all that kind of thing, and it just makes the whole experience very bad. But moving on to the next sort of online sort of feature is they need to introduce more statistics, and this can carry over to single player as well. I really like looking at statistics and all that kind of thing, like overtakes, time spent on track, all that kind of thing. If we could just have like much more detailed statistics, maybe even leaderboards or something like that, that'd give me more motivation to play, I guess. Even in like career mode, like if you see like over the course of the season who made the most overtakes, who was the best qualifier, who lost the most positions, who had the most DNFs, that kind of thing. I think that'd be pretty cool. Moving on, maybe something like player cards or maybe even emblems, something like that. Just a little bit of customization, give yourself a little bit of a identity or personality, I suppose, online. And you could even extend that to maybe even creating clubs or groups on F1 online. Like you see, like with a lot of driving games these days, you see games like Drive Club and Forza Horizon 2, they have a very big social element that makes such a big difference for online. And F1 just doesn't have that. All you do online currently is just you just go online, you go do some races, and then you come off after getting crashed or whatever, and then that's it. Like if you could have clubs or whatever, that sort of thing, compete against each other, competitions, maybe get RaceNet involved just a little bit more. I personally haven't touched RaceNet in the last year, so I'm not too sure what they're doing on that front, but I'm sure there's definitely more they could do, because at the moment, it just seems like the focus the last 2 years, it's been on game modes that no one really cares about. Like last year, the Classic Edition, I played that for 5 minutes, and then after that, it was nothing. This year, 2014, they focused on a expanded scenario mode. I played that for 5 minutes too, and I never touched it again. So what's the point? The two biggest game modes on the F1 games are career mode and online. And unfortunately, for like the last 3 years, those game modes, it seems, have been just completely ignored altogether, and they've remained the same. Even to some degree, we've had content taken away, which is really out of order. So, that's just my take on it. Let me know what you guys think about that. Moving on, I'll move on to some more other things like the AI, career mode, damage, all that kind of thing. Next point is the damage on next gen needs to be a lot more realistic. Now that we have a lot more memory to play with, I think we should see more realistic damage, like suspension damage. We should at least have the wheel tethers that have been on the cars for how many years now, and still we haven't seen it once in a F1 game. Also, there needs to be steering damage, like if you bend your steering arm, the steering of the wheel could be off-center if you touch a wall ever so slightly. More suspension damage, more failures, engine failures, gearbox failures, leaking oil, all that kind of thing. There definitely needs to be more emphasis on damage, because at the moment it's way too simplified. And sometimes if you just hit a wall, like you hit a wall fairly hard, does nothing sometimes, unless you're running with a realistic damage mod, then it makes some kind of a difference. But for console players, they don't get to experience that, so that's a little bit unfortunate. And if you have higher damage, then it also stops a lot of people from driving recklessly online as well. So that's something to think about. Also, something no one else has really touched on yet, maybe even track damage. Like we see at some race meetings in real life, sometimes the track surface can get torn up, or can just like wear away, maybe even the curbs or something like that over the course of a weekend or a race stint. You see that kind of thing happening, but that's a little bit far-fetched. Don't know if that could be implemented anytime soon, but that's something to think about maybe in a couple of years' time. But anyway, moving on to the next thing, that's career mode and single player. One big thing I really want to see in career mode is R&D. We need more freedom to do whatever the hell we want with our cars, because sometimes you're driving a particular car and it struggles so much in one particular area. For like for F1 2013, for example, struggled so much for Tyre Wear, and we didn't get the Tyre Wear upgrade until Brazil, the end of the season, the last race. Like, what's the point? It's the end of the season. I'm probably going to change teams at the end of that season. Why give me the most important upgrade on the last race? I want to do that from day dot. If you're struggling in one particular area, you want to improve that part of the car, and that'll make you more consistent or more faster or whatever. You want to focus on what your weaknesses are or what your strengths are to maybe build on that. Because we see with the current R&D objectives, some of them are just so pointless. Like, you drive around for 3 laps and you get 5% better front stability. Like, what the hell? I don't need that. I want maybe even better rear stability, or maybe less wheel spin or something like that. Better aero. A lot of people struggle for understeer. Give us, things, or give us the choice to work on elements of the car that we really need. So that's something that really needs to be looked at for F1 2015, because at the moment a lot of the R&D objectives are pretty damn pointless. But anyway, moving on to the next point, and this is a pretty big one in terms of the whole 2014 season and the rule changes, is the ERS, Energy Recovery System. As far as we know, there's really no input. We have no sort of experience of the ERS system. We don't get to plot where ERS is used or even harvested. And to add to that, we don't even have an overtake button, which I think is pretty out of order this year, because you're trying to defend from AI, or you're trying to get past someone, and you can't even rely on it. As far as I know, it's not even in the game, really, because it's essentially used the same part of the track every time, and the AI, I believe, have got the ERS used at the same point of the track as well. For me, I want to set where the ERS can be used, because I see some pretty stupid points of the track where the ERS is harvested, where you're going slower than normal. I want to be using my ERS on straights. I don't want to be harvesting it where going slower on the straights. That's completely pointless. I want to be maybe harvesting it through corners so I could be more efficient in how I use that. Maybe have that as a tactical advantage if you're better at plotting that online, and have that as, just an extra competitive advantage maybe if you know the tracks better or something like that. I think that'd be a lot better. Also have the overtake button, as I said before. There's definitely room for that. There's the button is there to use, but clearly it's not there. So that's a little bit disappointing. But I can also understand at the same point that you don't really want to be pressing that button for 30 seconds a lap. I only want to have the option to use the overtake button at points that I need it to get past someone, the overtake button, to overtake people, whatever. But moving on to the next thing. Again, it's more to do with restrictions or lack of flexibility with the rule changes this year. We see gearboxes are also a pretty big talking point. As it stands at the moment, there's no real, I guess, influence that gearboxes have this year. We can change the power units, of course, and that's a good thing. But I'd like to see maybe having the choice to change gearboxes from race to race. And also, maybe if we qualify badly, change the gearbox and take that grid penalty and then have the, I don't know, I guess the extra performance that comes from a new gearbox maybe. I'm not too sure how many gearboxes we use over the course of the season, but if someone knows that, let me know in the comments. But I'd like to see that sort of implemented, to have a little bit more freedom over what we do with the cars, especially in career mode. Online doesn't matter so much, that really isn't even an issue because all the components are brand new for online. I'm not even going to get into that, but anyway, moving on. I also spoke briefly about the power units just before. One thing is, we come into a race weekend in career mode, and we only have one practice session. So we come into the race weekend, and we use the engine that we used in the previous weekend. But I want to nominate, before I get into practice, what engine I want to use in practice, because there's much more emphasis on power units this year, and coming into every practice session, I'd like to use the worst possible engine that I can. I don't want to be using the brand new engine that I probably put in the last race. I don't want to be wasting that in practice. I want to select what engine I want to put in before I get to practice, because if you change your engine during practice, you can't do any running after that. So that's a little bit annoying in one way. But anyway, I think that's pretty much it in terms of the guess career mode and sort of rule changes and components and all that sort of thing. But yeah, moving on to the next thing, and this is also another big talking point with the F1 games in general, and that's the AI. They need to be more real. Like, they seem like they're too predictable. They need to be more unpredictable, more human-like. That's an obvious thing to say, of course, but I'll go into detail on the sort of things that they need to work on, because it's quite obvious that they've been lacking in a lot of areas, especially like overtaking, going up the inside, coming into corners, fast corners, slow corners, medium speed corners. They back out too early. It's a bit ridiculous. Give them a little bit of bravery. Let them have the option to just lunge it up the inside. If they overshoot the corner, then who cares? You know, we can do the undercut on them and get it back at them. That's racing. We don't get to experience that offline. The only time we get to experience that is online with other players. So the AI need to be a little bit more real in that aspect. And they also need to be faster on lap 1. Like you see, it's a classic trait of career mode series I see this year. Everyone making up so many positions on the first lap because the AI is so slow and they give each other too much room, and it's just a little bit of a shambles, really. It's a little bit disappointing. I'm not too sure what you could do there, but if they could just be a little bit faster, that'd be really nice. Also, they need to be more realistic in the way that a human is, in the way that they should be faster at the start of a stint when the tyres are fresher, and then they need to drop off a little bit more gradually, like people do when the tyres start to wear out. Because as it stands at the moment, the AI are very consistent over a course of a race stint. Like, their lap times will be fairly neutral over a whole stint, whereas people, we're faster at the start and then we get slower at the end. So they need to sort of replicate that a little bit more, because their AI are definitely too predictable and they're a little bit OP, especially when the tyre wear starts to come into it. Also, the AI needs to be a little bit more dynamic in terms of their strategies and pit stops. For example, say we're doing a 15 lap race at Bahrain, the safety car comes out maybe 2 laps before the AI is scheduled to come in. They'll stay out and they'll still pit on their recommended lap. So they need to be a little bit more flexible in the way that they work their strategies, because sometimes the safety car will come out just before they pit and it'll put me in the game. I'll come in for a new set of tyres and then they'll stay out, and then they'll pit like 2 laps later and then they've lost the whole pit stop over me. So that's a a little bit frustrating, and they also, yeah, just need to vary up the strategies that they do a little bit. I'll give Codemasters a little bit of credit though. The AI this year seemed to split their strategies a little bit more, like they'll start on prime tires or they'll run different compounds at different points of the race. So that's a little bit better this year in comparison to previous years, but that's going to pretty much do it for this video. Of course, there are a lot of other things that I've talked about in the past which I've not really talked about in this video. I'll leave a full list of all the little features and stuff that I'd like to see possibly in the F1 2015 game, like for example online practice sessions, quick pit stops in qualifying, player controlled pit stops, all that kind of thing, maybe even penalizing assist users a little bit more online. So if you want to go check out some of those things, I'll leave it in the description. Also, if you have any suggestions as to other things that I might have missed, then let me know down in the comment section below. I'll probably make more videos about this in the future, and I'll probably go into a little bit more detail as to some other things that I've not really talked about, and I'll give them the sort of opinion or justification about why they should be in the game a little bit more when it comes closer to the release of F1 2015. So that's going to do it for today. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you leave a like. Maybe even send this video to Steve Hood or Luke Spring or anyone from Codemasters to let them know. Or just, yeah, just maybe bring up some awareness as to some of these issues, because there's some things I've talked about in this video which are not quite as evident, or some things that people haven't quite picked up on yet. So I thought I'd share those out and see what your opinions are of those. So if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. I'll be doing many more F1 2014 and F1 2015 videos when they come out in the not too distant future. So that's going to do it for today. Until my next video, guys, I'll see you next time.
Pull my heart out of my chest, train my mind so I forget. Sink your teeth into my bones, dig me out, then fill the hole. Tear me apart.